Hey, listen, property valuation and financial analysis take up approximately 14% of the state exam questions. So listen, this is what I want to do. I want to pump the brakes a little bit. I want to slow down and I want to focus. I want to target property valuation because I want you to be ready for it and I want you to be comfortable. In fact, you know what? Let's do this. Let's get straight to it. Now, it'll be fitting to start off with appraisal. Now, what's an appraisal? Now, most of you already know this, but I want to make it crystal clear. An appraisal, nice and simple. I want you to think of property value. It's the value of a property, what a property is worth. Now, sure, it's pending different factors involved, external factors, internal factors, improvements, deficiencies on the property. But listen, when it comes to the definition of the appraisal, it's the value of the property. Got it? Done. Let's move on. Now, speaking of property valuation, let's go to comparables. Now, what's a comparable? An appraiser will go to a property. Let's assume it's property A, and he wants to find other properties in the general area that are similar to the subject property, subject A, in size, in year built, in other factors such as amount of bedrooms and bath. Those are comparables. Got it? Ready? Here it comes. Bonus. Now, one question I gave an appraiser at one point was, how do you determine if an apple's an apple? How do you determine if it's not too much dissimilar? When do you know that something is similar, very much alike? And the appraiser gave me a fantastic answer. He said, well, Rico, what I do is this. I have the subject property. It's a 1,000 square foot property. A 1,000 square foot property, Rico, I will definitely not compare it to a 2,000 square foot property. I will definitely not compare it to a property that's 1,500 square feet, Rico. I said, well, where do you draw the line, appraiser? Where do you draw the line? He says at 15%. I said, well, 15%, ready? Here it goes. 1,000 square feet subject property. Got it? Nice and simple. Now, what's 15% of 1,000? 15% of 1,000 is 150. The appraiser said, Rico, it's simple math. Rico, I want you to take that 1,000 square foot house and I want you to deduct 150 and I want you to add 150. And that's your window. So your window to appraise something, to make it similar, would be anywhere from 850 square feet up to 1,150 square feet. You see that? 15%. Wow, what great advice. Simple? Good. Another term I want you to know is the drive-by appraisal. Ready? Put that in quotes. Drive-by appraisal. What the hell is a drive-by appraisal? Almost sounds illegal, but it's not. It's actually the appraiser driving by the property to do his appraisal. Now, why would he do that? Listen, typically, that's not the way it's done. But it does happen occasionally. Here it goes. Typical appraiser makes an appointment to go see the property, measures the property, takes a look at the outside of the property, at the exterior of the property. Then he, of course, goes inside the property, examines the interior of the property, looks at the upgrades, looks at the deficiencies, makes all his notes, goes back to his office, does a thorough research on the property when it comes to comparables, on the deficiencies, on the improvements, on the measurements, and he comes up with the value. But sometimes when the market's pumping and it's rocking, there's no need for these people to go inside the property. There's no need for the appraiser to go inside. He has data at his fingertips. Where? On the internet. He'll utilize the MLS. He'll utilize access to the title company. He'll get comparables up the wazoo utilizing these resources. So there's no need for him to go inside and pay a visit. He'll drive by the property, and if he sees that the outside of the property looks reasonable, it looks great, chances are the inside is going to look great. Talking about the appraisal report, let's go straight to that one. What is an appraisal report? I want you to know what that is because you're going to definitely see that one on your state exam. Now, the appraiser, which is the person, has gone into the property and has reviewed it, has measured it, has taken photos of the interior, has taken photos of the exterior. He's not done yet. He goes back to his office. He gathers all of the information, all of the data, and he puts it in writing. And that's called an appraisal report. Very simple. It's a report based on what? Yeah, the appraisal. Nice and simple. Let me give you a reminder. When the appraiser goes into a property, whether it's a home or a business, he's there to do one thing and one thing only, and that's to put value to a property. And that's what an appraisal is. Now, when he goes into these properties, many times you'll see personal property. Now, we already know that personal property is not part of the real property, and he's there only to give value to the real property, the house, the land, and the improvements. And the biggest improvement is the house. You already know this. So we already know that when it comes to personal property, that is not included in the value of the property. So let's talk about trade fixtures then. That's the term I want you to know. Trade fixtures. Let me say it slowly. Trade fixtures. Now, because it's a fixture, we're going to go ahead and assume that it's real property. Why? Because it's attached. You with me? This is the trick though. When we see the word attached, we think of real property. When it comes to trade fixtures, that's the exception to the rule. Because trade fixtures were attached by the business owner to utilize while that business owner was running what? Yeah, his business or her business. Example would be hair salon chairs, that swivel. Now they may be attached to the floor, making them real property, but when it comes to trade fixtures, they are to be removed upon the sale of the property. Got it? So a trade fixture is the only one that's exception to the rule that doesn't remain with the property. Got it? Trade fixtures. When the appraiser sees them, not included in the value. They're gonna be ripped out and taken away. Now, another term I want you to understand clearly is taxes when it comes to property value. Got it? Sometimes we want to know what the taxes are for these properties that are being sold. And the appraiser will go into this property, again, review it, take a look at it, give his opinion, but he'll also consider what are the taxes on this property. When it comes to the borrower, will they be able to afford to pay the taxes on this property? So how are properties determined? Ready? Here's the term, ad valorem. And that means based on value. Got it? Based on value. Value of what? Yeah, the property. Got it? So let's assume we're going to Beverly Hills. Ooh, the glitz and glamour of Beverly Hills, man. Beverly Hills. And the property in question is a $10 million property. Now, typically, taxes are 1% of the value of a home. Sometimes 1.25%. But for the math's sake, let's go with 1%. So if this property in Beverly Hills is $10 million, now 1% of $10 million is what? Yeah, go ahead and do the math. Yeah, $100,000. Holy mother of mercy. $100,000 of taxes. And it's all based on ad valorem. Let's take another house, a nice small house out in the suburbs that only cost us $500,000. $500,000. Based on ad valorem on this $500,000 property, 1% is what? Yeah, $5,000. You see the big difference there? 100,000, 5,000. And it's all based on what? The value of the property. Ad valorem. And that's what I want you to know what that means. Ad valorem, it's all based on the value of the property. You're going to see a question on there that's going to say, what is the most common way? What is the most common approach? What is the most common appraisal used when it comes to residential property? And I want you to select the sales comparison approach. So what is the sales comparison approach? Ready? Let's pump the brakes. When it comes to residential property, properties that people are living in, and they want to move out, we're comparing properties to properties, meaning homes to homes, meaning single-family dwellings to single-family dwellings. The most common method, the most common system that appraisers are going to use will be the sales comparison approach. I want you to remember that. And they're going to, again, compare that property to other properties that are very similar to this one. Now, there's a couple of factors when we utilize the sales comparison approach. Ready? Here it comes. I want you to keep these factors in mind. Now, these are the most important factors that the appraisal will attack, will focus on. Number one, the size of the property. To compare apples to apples, the size of the property is very important. You want the size to be similar. Got it? Another very important factor, the age of the house. We want the age of the house to be similar, apples to apples. We don't want to compare a house built in 1950 to a house built in 2020. They're too far apart. It doesn't make sense. One's much too old, one's much too new. We got to have them closer together. So, my recommendation, 10 years. 10 years. You want to compare apples to apples? House built 1950? Take it 10 years up and take it 10 years down. You're going to go up to 1960 and go down as low as 1940. Nice and simple. So we got the size of the house. We have the year of the house. One more thing, the location of the property. How far is it from us? I want you to use that 1 mile radius. I want you to use that 1 mile radius. Rule of thumb, use the 1 mile radius. Don't go further than that. Otherwise, you're out in the boondocks. It's too far from the subject property. You got it? Nice and simple. So, sales comparison approach. You got this. You got this. Hey, listen, another approach that the appraiser takes to put value on property or on businesses is called the income approach. Now, I want you to listen to that carefully. Ready? Close your eyes and think about this. The income approach. What is it asking? The income approach. It's an approach when it comes to income producing properties. So when you see that in your exam, I want you to know this. It's the appraiser going into these businesses, into these income producing properties. Could be an apartment complex. Could be a store. It could be any type of income producing property that they're going to go in there and they're going to analyze the income. They're going to analyze the costs. And based on those two items, income and costs, they will determine a value for that business, a value for that income producing property. So here's the kicker. Ready? Nice and simple. Whenever you see the word income, whenever you see a question that is targeting this property makes so much money when it comes to renting. This apartment complex makes so much money when it comes to collecting rentals. After all the costs, this income producing property is left with this amount of money. I want you to think of income approach. Think of the income approach because that's what the appraisal does. He's not comparing it to other businesses. He's comparing it to its consistent income and its consistent costs, expenses. And based on this data, he will provide a value. for the business. All right, here comes the next one. Although it's a very negative one, I'm actually kind of excited to talk about it because I want you to know this for your real estate exam. Hell, I want you to know it forever and ever and ever. Ready? Here it comes. Depreciation. Whoa, depreciation. Such a small word, but it's so powerful. The word is what? Yeah, depreciation. Now, what is it when it comes to real estate? What is it when it comes to valuing a property? Ready? Here it comes. When it comes to depreciation, I want you to think of three things. One thing that can depreciate a property is the physical deterioration. The property is up in shambles. It's in bad shape. Another form of depreciation is functional obsolescence. Whoa, functional obsolescence. Sounds fancy, but it's rather simple. It means items in the property may work, but they're so damn obsolete, nobody uses it anymore. They're old, they're outdated. An old heating system. Everybody's using central air now. An old heating system. That's what we call functional obsolescence. It was good at one time, but man, we don't know what the hell they were thinking back then. This third one is called economic obsolescence. Whoa, economic obsolescence, also known as external obsolescence. Listen, but let's go with the word economic obsolescence. What the hell does that mean? It's got nothing to do with the property. It's got nothing to do with the property. The property's in ship shape. It's a fantastic shape, has great improvements. It's got what we call pride of ownership. Owner loves his house. Lawn is always trimmed. Beautiful paint job. Brand new floors inside. But for some reason, the value of this property continues to drop because of outside sources. What the hell am I talking about? That's called economic obsolescence. When it comes to economic obsolescence, that's got nothing to do with the property then. It's all exterior. Poor leadership, poor government in that local area. How about zoning changes, huh? What used to be a beautiful zoning area with all of neighborhood homes, they just changed it right next door to an industrial zone. An industrial zone, so now you got environmental hazards near you. That kind of killed your value. How about the zoning of now putting commercial next to you, huh? And all of a sudden there's a liquor store two houses down. There's a liquor store in the neighborhood. That wasn't there before. So now, of course, it attracts a lot of drinkers, possibly. Devalues the property. Have your house tip-top shape. Beautiful. Enjoy your house. Awesome. Hey, how about zoning, huh? Zoning. Well, zoning is the regulation of land use. Government's saying, hey, that land over there can only be used for this. Hey, that land over in this part of the town can only be used for this. That's called zoning. Now, some very popular type of zoning is residential zoning, industrial zoning, commercial zoning, and very rarely do we want them to mingle together. We want to keep them separate for the safety of everybody. Huh? We don't want any industrial stuff coming on over to the, to the residential side. So the government, through police power, ooh, that's a good one, police power, have created what we call zoning, a master plan for the city, a master plan for the region, and that's to take care of everybody's health and everybody's safety. So when it comes to zoning, is it important? Absolutely. I want you to know what zoning is. Hey, listen, I just gave you 10 great terms regarding property valuation, appraisals when it comes to your state exam. Listen, if you want more questions like this, I want you to be prepped for the state exam. Take a look at this video. More questions for you that clarify what you're going to need to know for what? Yeah, that state exam. Can't wait for you to become my colleague, a realtor. See you next week.